So introduce the show.
Yeah, that's fine.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you for tuning in to Fantasy Football Weekly, presented to you by your guys here at statlinesmatter. I'm your host, Mark Stewart, here with my partner in crime, as always, Mr. Rob Hunter Jr., and joined on a regular basis by our Chicago Bear insider and fantasy football insider, Mr. Anthony Lukasik, coming live from Chicago. How are you guys doing today?
How's it going, guys?
Anthony, you were just telling us you're doing 12-hour days at work and prepping for this show. I'm impressed by that. I appreciate you on that sort of grind, and our fan appreciates that as well.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure. My pleasure, guys.
And Rob, you were just also mentioning that you are having a quite a bit of a day yourself with kids and work and family and business and all your kind of stuff. How's your thing going?
Hey, I'm here, and you know that's all that matters. But my feet up underneath this desk is paddling like a duck, I'm trying to present something that I'm trying to present like I got it all together. Oh, on top of that, my wife is sick.
Oh no, she all right?
Yeah, she all right, but I mean, when they get sick, they.
Yeah, you got to step into it a little bit. No, I know. And don't act like men are not worse. You know we're worse when we get sick.
I'm a big baby.
Me too.
I play it off. I don't get sick.
Oh, you don't get sick?
No. Even if I get sick, I will secretly take the medicine and don't even tell her.
That's so funny.
I do.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit of football here. Just kind of getting an opportunity to get some kinks worked out here. But it's this coming out. Actually, let's talk a little bit about the past week, if you don't mind. How did you guys feel like you did with some of the tips that you gave our listeners, and some of the things that you identified, Rob, both you and Daly and Anthony, with you in season long? Rob,
the Nick Chubb pick worked out. It would have worked out even more had they not brought Huntley in to poach his third touchdown. But for the most part, the picks did work out. I also liked Eckler. Eckler did really well on limited carries. So for the most part, the picks did work out. And looking forward to another successful DFS weekend, Saturday and Sunday. For me, I played college, but Sunday as well.
And what about you, Anthony? How did your picks and so the way you broke the games down and broke the guys down, how did that end up playing out this past week?
Yeah, we did pretty good last week. The sit calls were on the money with Stafford, Tyler Algier, Deontay Johnson, and Tyler Higbee. They got their butts kicked. But some of the start decisions, we called some shots. Some of them went well, some of them didn't. It happens. It's what happens when you call the shot, right?
Right. Yo, I saw something, and I don't even know.
All of mine hit. All my shots hit.
All yours
they always hit.
100%.
I saw that the Rams have, this can't possibly be right, that the Rams have less total points than the Bears do. Is that true? I think I saw that on Twitter, but I was like, I got to look that up for myself. I mean, I have a couple of Rams on my team, and I can tell you, because I'm 1-4 in both of my leagues, that they're not producing. Staff,
it feels that way.
Yeah, I traded Stafford. I got a couple of their running backs. I got both their running backs cuffed and waiting for one of them to break out, and it's not happening. I should listen to you guys more, because I'm out here on my own doing my own thing, and I'm getting my head cracked.
Yeah, thankfully Cup's been on fire all season long. He's like proof. He's just proof. He's going to get it done every week, and that's just a glorious thing from that offense, because nothing else is functioning. The whole thing with not re-signing OBJ, who is a game breaker, he gets massive separation, but bringing in Allen Robinson to replace him was kind of like, Allen Robinson's a contested catch kind of guy. Matt Stafford's strength has never been throwing into tight windows. He likes to throw it up for his guys to go get it on occasion, but that was maybe earlier in his career, late in his career. He's looking for those guys with separation. He wants the easy dink and dunks. It just didn't make a lot of sense, and this offense is kind of functioning on that principle.
No, it's true. Well, listen, just really quickly again, you tuned into Fantasy Football Weekly, presented to you by your guys from Statlines Matter. We're here like always. We ask you to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll know when we're going live. We're a little earlier today than the other weeks that we've attempted to do this. And I think we're going to take the opportunity now to jump in to some of our breakdowns for this week. We're going to focus on 3 games, and then the guys are going to give you some start sits and answer any questions that you might have to get you through your daily fantasy and through your season long. The first game we want to break down is the Buffalo Bills 4-1 going to Kansas City. Believe it or not, Kansas City is a home underdog in this game, which is saying a lot about the Buffalo Bills. I would like to hear from you guys. I'll start with Anthony. What's your take on this from a fantasy perspective? The last time we saw these two teams step on the field in the divisional round last year, it was fireworks. One of the greatest games I've ever seen. I've been watching football since way back when. I'm not even going to age myself, but a long time ago. It was played very differently when I first started watching. Fireworks everywhere, guys going crazy. Are you expecting that sort of thing, or do you expect the teams to tighten up on the defense and try to control the game a little bit more?
Yeah, no, this rematch has definitely been highly anticipated. I wouldn't expect a game like we saw last in the playoffs last season. I mean, the games like that just don't happen very often. That game was one for the ages. It was an instant classic. Absolutely. We are still a little bit early in the season, so yeah, I do expect the defenses to be a little bit tighter. Guys a little bit less worn down early in the season, things like that. I definitely expect these teams to play hard against each other. But Buffalo has been on fire. KC's been doing what they can to keep up, but from a fantasy perspective, I definitely say light up all of your Buffalo pieces. I think this still has the potential to be one of those barn burners, big games that we saw at the end of last year.
And Rob, what about you? What's your take on the game? Do you have anything on the Kansas City side? Are you running with anyone on Kansas City, or are you taking a more cautious approach? Obviously, Mahomes is, I would imagine, a must start for you, and also Kelsey coming off the week the Sunday game he just had. Well,
I mean, Mahomes technically could be a must start, but he believes he's $8,000. That's his salary on DK. I would much rather play a couple of other guys in that same range, or perhaps even cheaper. Just given, like, I'm a believer in the Bills defense. Now, from a how I believe the game is going to play out, I think you can play Mahomes, particularly in tournaments. He'll be probably less than 10% owned, particularly at that salary. And like I said, going up against the Bills defense, the numbers are obviously what they've been. Their top 10 in every single, top 5 actually in every single category. So I think you can start Mahomes, and I think you can start Kelsey against at home. And then obviously we know, us looking at football for as long as we have, we know teams coming into Arrowhead Stadium, it's a difficult place to play. It's a difficult place to come out and get a win. So I think you can start, because we know where that ball is going. And in fantasy football, whether you're playing DFS or whether you're playing season long, you need guys with the ball. You need targets, you need carries, and you need your quarterbacks obviously to produce in the ways that they do, where you have a guy who scrambles or a guy who puts up a lot of passing attempts. You need those things. And so I think this game, I actually think the game is going to live up to, not necessarily the theatrics that we had last year, but I do see a game that somewhere around maybe 31-28, somewhere around there. I think that the Shakir play is probably off now that McKenzie's back. But McKenzie's averaging, I believe, 5 targets a game. So you probably want to, I wouldn't spend $5,000 on McKenzie, which is what he costs. But overall, I think that you can target your usual suspects. I think you can target, obviously, Diggs. I think you can target, Josh Allen is averaging a 4X. He's averaging 32 points a game. I don't see this Chiefs defense slowing them down. Chiefs defense are 24th. They're giving up 255 passing yards a game. They're 26 in DK points against QBs and wide receivers. So all of the measurables are there if you want to green light, Josh Allen, your normal, your usual suspects for the Bills.
Is it safe to say that we are staying away from Kansas City wide receivers, considering that it seems like all the key balls are going to Kelsey, and he seems to be spreading it around pretty evenly, and so nobody's getting a lion's share of the targets, or at least so it seems to the eye. I haven't looked at the stats. Is it safe to say we're staying off of Kansas City wide receivers for the time being, Anthony?
Yeah, on the KC side of the ball, I think that, outside of Travis Kelce, I think it's going to be a dart throw. You can absolutely light up on a flyer as like maybe a flex play or a wide receiver 3 if you need to, type of position. You're looking at picking, one of Juju, MVS, or McCole Hardman. CEH is a fine play as a later flyer on your roster if you're trying to fill out your starters for the week. We got bye week starting this week too. I think one of them is going to get the production. I'm just good luck picking which one.
Right.
Right. But one of them should walk away with some pretty solid day by the end of it.
We got a question from Jim Land. He's wanting to know about trading D. Smith. I think that's Smith from the Eagles, and Harris for Kareem Hunt and Christian Kirk. What do you guys think, Rob?
What is it again? I'm sorry.
I want to say, is it Devontae Smith from the Eagles and Damian Harris from the Patriots for Kareem Hunt and Christian Kirk?
He's trying to do the move for Kareem because he's
he wants to know if he wants to get those guys coming back in.
Yeah, because the that running back is hurt. Smith. So Christian Kirk. That's actually. I was going to say no. Devontae Smith, he's not necessarily boom or bust. He's had 11 targets last week, 4 the week before, then 12 and 7, and he normally produces when he gets those targets. Philly has one of the top. Philly has, I believe, the top rated passer in the league in Jalen Hurts. That's actually a really. I'm a little bit stumped on that because Kareem Hunt does produce. But Nick Chubb leads the league in carries. But like I said, when we started this broadcast, they bring Kareem Hunt in to poach those carries. So and Christian Kirk, I actually have him in our season long, and he's been fine. He didn't produce last week. I would probably say with a little bit of reluctance, you can go ahead and do that because you've only got one guy. And Christian Kirk is gonna put up decent numbers to sort of because you're trading basically a number 2, right? You're trading a number 2 because AJ Brown's a number 1 guy in Philly, so you're trading a number 2. You're getting back a number 1 in Christian Kirk. You're getting a guy that's on IR off your squad, and you're getting back a pretty. Kareem Hunt is probably getting, and Anthony, you correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe 10 to 12 touches every single game. So I would probably go ahead and press the button on that. And last but not least, Philly is Philly's a team. They're one of the top rushing teams in the league as far as I believe they run the ball 52% of the time, if I'm not mistaken. So even though he does get those targets, Philly is a run first ball club. So Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a slam dunk trade. Yeah, breaking it down, you're looking at it. Kareem Hunt, like you were mentioning, is the backup for Nick Chubb, who's having a fantastic year. Absolutely, Chubb's been kind of like the between the 20s kind of runner. You get it, especially within the 10 or 5 zone, and that becomes the Kareem Hunt zone. They like to give him the goal line carries and things like that. And so Devontae Smith is really the key piece that you're losing here, and you're getting back the number 1 receiver for a team that's starting to let Trevor Lawrence throw the ball a little bit. So is it going to be hit or miss with Kirk? Yeah, absolutely. But when Kirk goes off, he's going to go off, and he will this season. He has, and he will continue to do so on occasion. So yeah, I think it's a slam dunk, especially with Harris being hurt.
Just to piggyback on that, so I'm looking at Christian Kirk is getting 7.8 targets a game, and Devontae Smith is getting 7.6. So to Anthony's point, the more I think about it, the more I say, before I was like a slow yes, but now I believe yes, you definitely make that trade.
Okay, well, good. That's awesome. Let's go to our next game and break that down. Big game in the NFC East. We have the Cowboys at 4-1, which is a little bit surprising considering they had a serious injury at quarterback, and then you have the Eagles at 5-0, which I think is a little bit of surprise. I think people thought they would be good this year, but 5-0 good, last undefeated team. I don't know if anybody saw that coming. Rob, I'll start with you. Give us some key players in this game and with the matchup, because that's a very two good defenses here. So that would affect the effectiveness of some of the offensive talent.
Yeah, it is. The key here for me is you have the number one pass blocking line with Philly. According to Pro Football Focus, you have the number one pass blocking line against the number one pass rushing line with Dallas. So, for me, I think the key piece, I anticipate Philly being up in this game. They run the ball a decent amount, and that is if Dallas does have an Achilles heel, it will probably be their run defense. And I think that obviously they're going to be running the ball. Dallas has given up, I believe, close to 5 yards a carry. Miles Sanders is averaging that. So I think that the guy that I will be looking at as far as on a DFS side is the guy that's sort of been reliable throughout the quarterback change. And that's been, and I don't want to necessarily say reliable, but he's been able to produce, and that's CeeDee Lamb. That's the guy I will be targeting in this game, just due to because what we do know is that Dallas isn't going to run off to some 21-point lead. And if anything, the game script is going to be Philly being up and Dallas having to throw the ball. And normally what we've seen is CeeDee Lamb get his targets and get his touches more so in the second half. He gets his touchdowns when they're forced to throw, because they'll still, they've been grinding it out with Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott's carries have been way up, particularly over these past 2-3 weeks. And but come fourth quarter, you'll see that obviously a lot of times they're forced to throw, and CeeDee Lamb gets his numbers. So that's a guy that I will be looking at. Miles Sanders carries have been up as of late. He's a guy that and with Philly being one of the teams who runs the ball the most, and I believe they're second in the league, if I'm not mistaken. They could be number one, but I believe they're second in the league in rushing attempts. So Miles Sanders is a guy that you can look at. Now AJ Brown actually has a good matchup. According to Pro Football Focus, Jordan Lewis is supposed to be covering for about 13 snaps. That gives him a 98 grade. And Anthony Brown is supposed to cover him for 16 snaps. That gives him a 92.6 grade. The question is that, which is a 92.6 advantage in that matchup. So the question is just, once again, and he had similar grades last week against Arizona, and he put up good numbers in that first quarter, but Philly chose to run that ball pretty much assault that game away. So yes, Philly has the matchups obviously offensively, but I think it's gonna be a ground and pound game for them, just given the Dallas's pass rush.
And Anthony, how about you? What's your take on the game?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking to target the Philadelphia running game in this one for sure. Miles Sanders is actually at 4.8 yards per carry this season, which is phenomenal. Actually on pace for over 1,400 yards this season. Already had 3 touchdowns. I don't know where this was when he was on my fantasy teams.
I was going to say the same thing for me. I was going to say the same thing.
I finally given up on him, and now he wants to go off. That's awesome. But Jalen Hurts has been doing fantastic. The thing is he just doesn't pass for a lot of touchdowns, and so with the guys like Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and AJ Brown, you're really hoping for a touchdown here. He's both AJ Brown and Dallas Goedert only have 1 on the season apiece. And so you got Micah Parsons going to be creating a lot of pressure. He's already got 6 sacks this season, but Jalen Hurts, I don't know, that's hard to contain. I do expect a hefty running game totals on the Philadelphia side of the ball. On Dallas's side, stop it with the Cooper Rush always better than Dak calls. I don't understand this. I think, Mark, I saw something you posted about that recently. Look, Cooper Rush has been doing good, 93.9 passer rating, but the dude's only averaging 167.8 yards per game. All right, let's not pretend he's a barn burner here. He's a
classic game manager in the 80s, 90 cents. Yeah.
Yeah, 4 touchdowns, but no interceptions, and that's what they're looking for, someone who can take care of the ball.
Yes.
Zeke and Pollard are doing the great 1-2 punch thing. They're over 4 yards per carry combined. CeeDee Lamb's doing okay, 68.2 yards per game, 2 touchdowns, but with Darius Slay and James Bradbury, these two are monsters. These guys are killing it back there, and let's not forget Philly's defense also has 17 sacks in the year. These guys are going to be rough. This is going to be a rough game.
It's going to be a good football game.
this is where we find out what Cooper Rush has got. We find out if he can be the starting quarterback for another team, or we see where his flaws are. This is going to be that test.
No, I think you're right. I think this is going to be one of those old-fashioned NFC East games. It'll be good. You know, I don't know if it's going to necessarily be good for your fantasy teams, but it'll be good to sit down with whatever your favorite adult beverage and snack and watch it. It's going to be a good game. Really exciting to watch. Before we move on, let's take another question from Chris D. He wants to know what wide receiver should he get for Cortland Sutton, J-Rob, or Ramondre. But Ramondre is a running back, correct? Ramondre Stevenson from New England.
Yes.
So
from New England, yeah.
So I think he's looking to see which one of those are the best trade option.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, so with this one, I would say Sutton is kind of hard to trade right now because there's a lot of worry about Russell Wilson. I mean, Sutton's been solid, but he hasn't been Cooper Kupp solid, and so there's a little bit worried about. I think you'd be trading low on Cortland Sutton right now, especially if Russell starts to figure out this offense at all at any point this season. You might be sorry you don't have him anymore. But if you want to trade him and J-Rob for like a DK Metcalf, I think you could swing something like that. But also, if you're looking to trade Ramondre, right now Ramondre is a hot commodity. You might be able to trade him for DK straight up and just keep Sutton and J-Rob on your roster. And so it's really what you're looking for there. I would use DK Metcalf as the bar though for what you're looking.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Ramondre will be almost untouchable, just given the kind of offense that New England runs. They run the ball 51% of the time. He's the lead back. Damian Harris is out for the season. He's a guy that's pretty much untouchable for me, unless I'm getting. He's not going to have the name value, but I would try to get somebody like Devontae Parker, I'm trying to Devontae Adams. I'm trying Devontae Parker. I'm trying to get somebody. I'll be trying to get somebody, first tier guy, because that's the type of value that that a A1 running back who's in that kind of offense. It's like AJ Brown is a great receiver. He's got a pretty good matchup on some of those corners that we talked about. But again, if you're in an offense where guys aren't where their offense isn't geared towards your guy, getting him the ball, getting him the opportunities, then it's tough. Ramondre is in that offense. The one thing that was holding him back is not there anymore. Belichick wants to run the ball. Brady's not there. So whether it's Mac Jones, whether he's coming back, whether it's Hoyer or Bryant or Zapp, they're still going to be. They're still their first option. Their game plan to go into to winning a game is going to be to run the ball, and he's the guy. So he will be off limits for me.
Next question we have from King No Limit. So King No Limit has Higgins, Lamb, Waddle, and Jefferson. He's looking to put Waddle on the trade block. He wants to know, would a trade for Mixon or what other running back can he get? So he wants to dangle Waddle out there, wants to know if Mixon is a good play, or if not Mixon, what's a good value back coming back to him. And he has what I would think is, if you can put Jefferson, you got Jefferson on your team, you're doing pretty good at your wide receivers, and Lamb as your two. So you can maybe get something strong back from Waddle. What do you guys think? Anthony, you first.
So I'm looking at this, and for one, I think that Waddle, you're also trading low right now. He's been a little bit banged up recently, and then obviously we know what's going on with Tua.
And Bridgewater, for that matter. Both of them are out.
Bridgewater, yeah, that's a very good point. And so for Waddle, you're kind of trading low a little bit. I think that he'll catch back on in just a few more weeks. I'd kind of hold on to him. For Mixon, I'm looking, I'm trying to find the exact number, but his average yards per carry this season are low, surprisingly low. I don't think that Mixon would be the trade target I'd be looking for here. I'll take a look around. I'll see if I can think of something in the meantime. But the receiver I'd be looking to trade here is Lamb, actually. If you got Jefferson, Higgins, that's a solid combo right there. Waddle, I think, will be picking it up. And Lamb, I think, is kind of your trade high target right now. He's been doing really well with Cooper Rush. His numbers are better with Cooper Rush. And that makes sense. He's the number one receiver now, and Dak's another quarterback like Matt Stafford doesn't like to throw into tight windows. And so with CeeDee Lamb getting all that attention, Dak likes to check down a lot underneath. He likes to check down to Dalton Schultz at tight end. That's what made his stock so high. And so I think you could sell Lamb right now a little high. And yeah, you could probably target like go for Kenny Walker.
Yeah. if you can't pick him up off your waiver wire.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah, I would definitely
something like
think
that. Something like that. I think you can look for
Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, for sure. No,
Josh Jacobs.
King No Limit, thank you for your question. And definitely like, subscribe, and get the notifications if you can, if you're not already in with us. We're going to break down the third game before we get to some more questions. Let's hear what you guys have to say about the Jets versus Green Bay. So this is an interesting matchup to me because I think that with the Jets getting their quarterback back, and it wasn't necessarily like a pretty win because they were playing against the team's third string quarterback. They are starting to build some confidence on that team. And so therefore, maybe some of their offensive weapons are starting to come alive from a fantasy point of view. Then on the other side, you have Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, which have been trying to find themselves a little bit offensively. Give us you guys' take of this game from a fantasy football perspective. Like, who should be playing, who should be sitting in this game? Give us a little bit of breakdown. Rob, you go first.
This is I don't want to say a tough game to break down, but the guy that jumps off the page for me, at least on DraftKings, is if you're looking on the Jet side, is Breece Hall. Breece Hall is at 5.8K. And you saw the Jets start to use him a lot of like how Iowa State was using him when he was there. Obviously, a receiving back that can catch the ball out of the backfield, and obviously a guy he can run between the tackles. The Green Bay Packers are giving up 5.1 yards a carry. So to me, this screams Breece Hall. He's had, I believe he's had 19 and 20 touches the last two games. So they're starting to really turn the reins over to him. The offense is completely different now that Zach Wilson has taken under center. When they had Flacco, they were throwing the ball 40, 45 times a game, much to probably Garrett Wilson's chagrin. He probably wishes Flacco was back. But Breece Hall has enjoyed the change under center. So Breece Hall is a guy that I would be looking at. If you go on over to the Green Bay side, Aaron Rodgers is, I believe, at an all-time low at 6.1K on DraftKings. Has just been really struggling. You have to throw 300 yards in the seat. We have to throw 300 yards in the game. And the targets have kind of been all over the place. Looks like Watson's going to be out this particular game. And when he was out, Dubes was starting to produce a little bit more. When Christian Watson came back, he started to divide it up a little bit. Alan Lazard was looking like he was come on, but didn't play that well or didn't produce that much in the Giants. And then you have a true in the Giants game over in London. And then you have a true running back. I don't want to say necessarily by committee, but it's split between A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. And frankly, I like guys much better in the mid-range. I like Ramondre for I believe he's 6.4K this week. And I like Melvin Gordon going up against the Chargers. Those are the two best matchups this weekend. So if you're playing DFS, there's no way I'm playing Aaron Jones at 7.6K. So just to review, you could take a shot.
I think Rob froze. Anthony. Oh, I think I froze. I don't think it's Rob. I think it's me. Anthony, is Rob? Rob, are you there? You can finish your point. We're back. We had just a little.
Well, I was just saying that you could, if anything, you could take. I mean, because the Jets. Okay, now Aaron Rodgers has faced three tough defenses in a row. Right? He's faced New England. He's faced the Giants, and I believe he faced. There was another one in there, but he's facing the Jets. That's another top 10 defense. So yes, he's faced some tough defenses, and he's going home. But I believe Aaron Rodgers is a tournament play. The guy that I would look for in this game, if I was choosing anybody, obviously I'm off all the Jets receivers, but it would be Breece Hall at 5.8K.
Hey, what about you, Anthony? What are you thinking? Anything different from Rob says, or are you kind of in line with what Rob is saying for people who are playing season long?
Yeah, I'm in line with everything that Rob said. If you want the short answer, yeah, absolutely. Rob crushed it. I got all my notes, and they've all basically say the same stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, anything y'all want to add to that game, or you have any feeling about it? I would say this, just as a random side note, it's probably pretty good to be a New York football fan right now. The Jets sitting at 3-2, the Giants sitting at 4-1. I think if you sampled the average New Yorker in the offseason and said after 5 weeks we'd have, what is that, 7 wins between them, I think they'd be happy in the city.
Absolutely.
So,
The both teams are playing pretty good ball right now.
yeah, and they got well, they had 2 baseball teams in the playoffs. Now they have 1, but so it's pretty good to be a New York sports fan right now. Another question that we have from Jacob Cruz. What's up, man? Jacob, thank you for joining the show. He's asking about, he has Saquon, Monty, I guess that's from the Bears, and Brees and Ramondre. Which 3 should he start? So Saquon, I think, is definite. I'll answer that, and I'm not even the expert. And then you have Monty, Brees, and Ramondre. Rob, you go ahead and start. Which 3 are you going to start?
Who is Monty? Montgomery
from the Bears.
Well, I don't start Montgomery until he's fully, looks like he's fully recovered. I'm sticking with Saquon, Brees, and Ramondre. So the question is really about, do you start Monty or Brees? You're starting Ramondre and you're starting Saquon. The question is, are you starting Monty or Brees? Now, I would start Monty if I felt like he was healthy. If I felt like he was healthy, I'm starting David Montgomery. I love David Montgomery. I've loved him since last year. And I believe there's another Iowa State back, if I'm not mistaken. They know how to really produce them. But anyway, the question is and you got some good right now. How you get all them running backs on your team? Anyway, yes, but I would probably lean Brees just due to Green Bay. Like I said, they're giving up 5.1 yards per carry. Look like they really turned the keys over to Brees. And I think that I still believe that Khalil's going to get some carries tomorrow night. So for me, I don't want to have to guess where the ball is going when you're playing fantasy. You want your guy to get all the carries, all the targets, and it just looks like Brees is that guy. We know Ramondre is going to get all the carries. We know Saquon is going to get all the carries. And I would say, just judging by the last 2 weeks, we know it feels like anyway that Brees is going to get all the touches. So that's the direction I would go.
Okay. We have a question from Ryan Hayes Yoga. He's asking about a Barkley for AJ Brown and Walker trade. Would you pull on that?
Walker who? Hold on, who?
Barkley for AJ Brown, or I would say Walker would be the running back in Seattle, I would guess, right?
Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, depending on your team needs, for sure, I'd pull the trigger on that. If you need the receiver, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, and then and also like Kenneth Walker, he's got just judging by the run defenses that he's been going up. I was doing some research on him because I tried to get him. The run defenses that he's facing pretty much, now I won't say from here on out, but he's going to face some really
very friendly schedule.
So, yes, and also I think that what people weren't expecting is for Geno to play this well. So even if he does face a run defense that's fairly formidable, they're not going to be able to put 8 in the box like you normally think they would against against Seattle, against like the Geno Smith, whatever. I don't know what he drank, what he took, what book he read, if he was listening to Les Brown. I don't know what he did, but he is playing similar to how he played at West
Out of his
Virginia.
mind, man.
He's
oh my
looking
goodness.
Great. So
this is the best ball he'll ever play.
Yeah. So for me, I would pull the trigger on that. Yes, sir.
Maybe Geno is one of those guys where we talked about before at the very beginning, where the light bulb goes off late, like a Alex Smith. Maybe it's going off late for a Geno Smith. You just never know. Like he is playing outstanding ball right now. And it doesn't look, to be honest with you, it doesn't look like he's playing outside of himself. It looks like he's playing very much within what they're trying to do and very much within what he's capable of doing. It doesn't look lucky to me. I would say that. We have another question from Jesus Christ of the league. I'm assuming I'm not going to say it's Jesus. I'm going to say it's Jesus. He says, yes, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle, Jeff Wilson Jr., and Eli Mitchell for Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, and Deontay Johnson. So he's got a lot there. He's got 2 backs from the 49ers, a banged up Jalen Waddle, and Stephon Diggs for Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, and Deontay Johnson. Thoughts?
No, I'm good. I'm good on that one. Absolutely.
So
you guys just heard me say that. I think he's
pat.
CeeDee Lamb. I'm sorry?
He should stay pat.
Yeah, I mean, you heard me talk about CeeDee Lamb being a sell high earlier. Deontay Johnson has been, like you said, not a true number one. He's not. And Stephon Diggs lighten it up. No reason to think that he won't. Jalen Waddle will come on in a few more weeks, and then Jeff Wilson and Eli Mitchell from the San Francisco Rams always going to be great. The number one back there is always going to be great, and you got that position locked up. So enjoy it. You're riding it. You're riding high.
Yeah, that's a no for me. Like for all the reasons that Anthony just said, and I think maybe the bye week will provide some sort of solutions. But I have Devontae Adams in my league, and yes, he's producing it. But with only 3 catches, you got to have more than that. And he's had some games where he's had very limited touches, and again, that's just I want all the targets. So that would definitely, and you got a guy in Diggs who's literally getting all the targets. So there's yeah. So anyway, that I would definitely shut that trade down, or just counter in some way. If you got somebody that they want, just counter. I mean, if he's looking for Eli Mitchell to come back in week 10, maybe remix the trade a little bit. I mean, all they can do is reject it.
Looks like we lost Mark's audio.
Yeah, we did.
No, that was on me. I was muted for a second. My fault. He checks in with a question. He's in a PPR league. He's got DK Metcalf and Curtis Samuel, and he's asking about a trade for Waddle and Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah, absolutely not. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not. I mean, Curtis Samuel has shown, at least for me, that he's more than just those first few weeks of the flash in the pan. Essentially, I think he's a part of what they do. He also runs the ball. You got DK again. We talked about how good Geno Smith is playing. Hunter Renfrow is, I don't know, he's the third receiver maybe. I wouldn't do that. And then Jalen Waddle, I'm afraid of the quarterback situation down in Miami. Jalen Waddle has had some pretty decent games, but really it was just the one against the Ravens. So there's just no way that I would do that. Particularly, and the Hunter Renfrow is a little offensive to me. Like I'm like, what are you doing?
Well, I think let me say this.
I traded away Hunter and Waddle. I think he already did it.
Oh, he said he already did it. He's asking you to evaluate. But here's what I would say though.
So, sorry, maybe it'll work out for you.
He made it clear he's in a PPR league, and both Waddle and Hunter Renfrow are 100 catch guys, and guys that get at least going off of last year's stats, got a ton of targets. So I don't know, when you say Hunter Renfrow, it's offensive by his production this year, but I think it's very much in line. That trade is a little bit more reasonable if you think that Hunter Renfrow is going to return to the amount of targets that he was getting last year, which was, I think, pretty significant. I don't have his target number, but I know he went for over 100 catches last year. And so did Waddle.
You got the Devontae Adams in town now. It's a completely different dynamic. Renfrow is just more boom or bust now this year.
Yeah.
They can spread the ball around in Vegas now. Curtis Samuel I actually really like too. He's a trade target for me in Dynasty, to be honest with you. I like him as kind of like a Deebo Samuel light. I'm trying to get my hands on him. I hope Jake's not watching this episode. But I'm completely good with that trade. DK Metcalf and Jalen Waddle should get about the same amount of receptions on a weekly basis. Remember, Tyreek Hill there's going to be the target hog. So for PPR purposes, Tyreek Hill is the one you want.
Waddle, he got DK. Yeah, that's a good trade. That's a great trade. Yeah. I mean, that's what you got. Yeah.
Okay, so now that's what's up. Okay, let's jump into the area where we're going to talk a little bit about stardom, sit-em for this week. Guys that we should be looking at. Rob, I know you always sort of give everything from the perspective of DFS, so give us some guys that might have some value out there for the dollar amount. And Anthony, you give us some guys that, if you got your little up in the air about who you should get in the game, help us out. It's a couple of us that are struggling with 1-4 records. Help us out. Help some of us guys get back in the win column. But Rob, you go first. You give us a DFS stardom, sit-em. Let us know some value.
I like for a stardom, a really good value. I like Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore actually was what out of training camp in Arizona, they were saying he was actually the best player during training camp. Obviously, the hamstring slowed him down a little bit. But last week we saw him get 7 catches on 8 targets for 68 yards. Kyler just missed him on a go route. He had his guy beat, but I think that was just more of a chemistry thing. I believe that the game in Seattle is going to be a shootout. So I like Rondale Moore this weekend for 4.2K. And the second guy, I'll give you two more guys that I like. I like Jeff Wilson against Atlanta. Until he gets up over 7K, he's another guy that you can play. I did not like the fact that after he bust one for 41 yards that they brought in Tevin Coleman fresh off the practice squad to poach his touchdown. It was a little screen, so he kind of earned it a little bit, but I thought that the game had just started. Just leave him in there. But he still went for 17 carries for 120. And I've been talking about it. We've all been talking about it the whole show. I like Ramondre. He's at 6K, 25 carries for 161 yards. That is RB number one production. That's a guy that I love. He's going up against Cleveland, and Cleveland has a terrible run defense. They're giving up over 5 yards a carry. So those are 3 guys that I like. Anthony?
Yeah, for my start sits for the week. So for mine or for redraft purposes, I do mine based off of half-point PPR scoring. I like Kyler Murray this week against Seattle. I know he's been a little down recently. You might be willing to bench him. I said don't play him in this game. Seattle's been giving up a ton of points. I think that this could be end up being a high-scoring affair by the end of it. Play him with confidence. Kenneth Walker III against Arizona, I think, is another slam dunk. That's a duh. You know, if you just got him off the waiver wire, I don't care. Go ahead and get him in your starting lineup. Chris Godwin, I think, is he's coming back. He's coming back on. I think Chris Godwin is another good trade for candidate. Top 12 fantasy points in both the last 2 games straight. Pittsburgh is allowing the most fantasy points per game to the wide receiver position, 48.8, including the most yards and touchdowns to the position. Thank you, Gabe Davis, for padding that stat line. But my tight end streamer for the week is going to be Daniel Bellinger from the New York Giants, going up against Baltimore this week. In the sit column, I'm sitting Russell Wilson this week. Look, I know his shoulder's banged up. I know he had a little cleanup surgery happen. He's got a long break after the last Thursday night game. I'm still not, I think he can get right in this offense. I think if you're patient with him, I think he will turn it around. But this week is not the week I'm looking to do it against the Chargers. Najee Harris against Tampa Bay, I think, is another slam dunk sit. Jalen Warren's been looking more explosive. Najee's hurt. He's hurt, guys. And so, just right now is just not the time to lean on him. In fact, I would sell him. If you can get a good wide receiver or even just another really good running back, I'd sell him, because in all honesty, I'm not even looking at using him until week 13 when he comes back, when he gets to Atlanta, followed by Baltimore, Carolina, Vegas, and then Baltimore again. That's not a bad playoff time frame matchup. If you don't have him, I would try to trade for Najee right around week 13. And I'm also going to sit Garrett Wilson this week against Green Bay. We thought we broke down the Green Bay game earlier, and like Rob said, Garrett Wilson is outside of week 2, has just not been getting it done. And then for the tight end position to sit, I'm also going to sit Evan Ingram against Indianapolis. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to struggle just a little bit in this game. So Evan Ingram is going to be the tight end that I'm not looking to stream in there.
Yeah, let's get a couple more questions in here before we get out of here. We have Dylan Bhatia, who he wants to know who wins a trade of McCaffrey and Waller for Breece Hall and Mark Andrews full PPR.
I like the Breece Hall, Mark Andrews side of this deal.
Yeah, only because of Mark Andrews. Yeah, I hate losing McCaffrey, but Breece Hall is not bad compensation, and it might not turn out that way, guys. It might not turn out as well, but it's not a bad shot to take.
Yeah, for whatever it's worth, I think that's I don't like what's going on in Carolina, and it looks like
now.
Well, yeah, but even as you were watching the season unfold, you looked at a team that was sort of giving up. It looked like they were giving up on their coach. Guys were out there just kind of doing whatever, and you might see that for the remainder of the year if they start to unload pieces and try to go back into a rebuild. So I'm like with Buffalo. I've heard that rumor on Twitter, and like Rob said, I'm definitely on the Breece Hall train. Not just his talent, because I think he was a good back coming out of college, but I think how they're going to be using him and protecting Zach Wilson as much as they can. So I really like that, and what's not to like about Mark Andrews. So I like that. We have one other guy who wants to get some information on his team. Get up that other one, Gitz. He wants some help with his team. This is his team. It's Zach Wilson, Dak, Saquon, KW3, Kenneth Walker III, Cooper Kupp, Diggs, Godwin, Schultz, London. The benches, Bateman, Myers, Dodson, McKissick, Collins, and Conklin. He's got some good players. I don't know why he's 1-4 with Kupp and he's got bad quarterback. Well, his quarterbacks are not there. So, but he's got Saquon and he's got Kupp. What could you guys tell him to help him in terms of if he can make some moves, some trades, some ad drops or whatever? What advice would you give Gitz?
I would see if you could trade Schultz and Drake London. Maybe and for some reason Dotson has been, I don't want to say for some reason, but people like Dotson, like people in general, like the overall public sentiment is that he's a player that's really hot, really cool to have. I would try to package up something like that. I'm not trading Saquon or any other guys that we talked about. I like Godwin for the same reason that Anthony does. His price is still down on DK, but for season long, he's a guy that this is another 100 catch guy, 100 target guy. Guys produced multiple 1,000-yard seasons in the past. Tom Brady is starting to find his rhythm again. So you got three receivers right here that are they're killers. You got Godwin, you got Diggs, and you got Kupp. Those guys are untradeable for me. And I'm not trading Saquon. Yeah, I would try to trade London. I would try to do some version of Jacoby Myers. I think Jacoby Myers is going to produce. He has produced when he's been healthy. So he's a guy. Yeah, I have him on my fantasy squad. I'm probably going to start him this week, as a matter of fact. But I would probably try to do some version of that. Like Mark said, I don't know how you manage. Now I won't say how you manage, because I'm sure it's not your fault, but
right.
How this team managed to only have one win. But sometimes it gets quirky like that. We've had a couple of guys in our league before lead in scoring and then have under 500 records for some reason. But anyway, Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, so we definitely went wide receiver heavy here, and so that's where you got to unload. And I agree with you. I Drake London, I think, is the guy you want to unload. I would probably package him and Schultz for like an Njoku or something like that, and just lean on Njoku all season. Zach Wilson, I think you got to dump. He shouldn't be on your team. I would look at the wire. If you weren't able to pick up Geno Smith or Kirk Cousins is another good streamer option this week. I don't know if he'd be on your wire or not. If you're really struggling, you could even look at Carson Wentz against the Bears this week in the Thursday night game. Garoppolo's got Atlanta. That's another solid streaming option as well. So it looks like you're going to need to stream the position, which is great because it means you need to subscribe and listen to us every week so I can tell you exactly who you should be streaming.
You got to come back, Gitz. You got to come back, Gitz. You got to.
Yeah, but you could definitely lean on Myers on your bench for all your substitution needs, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, and I also think like a deeper streaming option could be Skylar Thompson this weekend going up against the Minnesota Vikings. They don't have their coverage rating is low and their pass rush is low. They're both rated in the 50s and in the 60s on Pro Football Focus. So don't be surprised, and particularly with those weapons, they're still going to want to get vertical because that's how their team is set up. Their team is set up to get the ball, in the receiver's hands and let those guys get loose. Obviously, when they bring in Chase Edmonds, they're looking to get him catches. So my point is that Skylar Thompson's passing volume is probably going to be there, and that's all you're looking for. I'm not saying they're going to beat Minnesota, but to see him probably get close to 250, 275 yards, maybe 2 or 3 touchdowns would not be surprising for me.
Last little bit of his question is he wants to know if he could pull off a Schultz in London for Goddard. Should he try to do that?
Sure.
Goddard. Yeah.
Njoku, Goddard, same.
Yeah. Hey, I got to ask you guys a quick question because we got, there was a lot of sentiment out there after Cooper Rush had a couple of good games. And then we started to get questions about, is he a better fit for the team than Dak, which I believe is ridiculous. But what about in New England? Is this young man that's playing as their third string quarterback, is he a threat to Mac Jones? based on the way they like to play. This team, they went on and put a whooping on Detroit. Detroit was, now the defense really did the work because Detroit was a leading scoring team in the NFL, believe it or not, coming into last week's action. So the defense kind of threw a goose egg up, but that offense has looked a little bit more potent with this Zappy, I think the guy's name is. Is there any reason, is there any reason for Mac Jones to be concerned there?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, absolutely. I like Bailey Zapp at Western Kentucky. They put up a lot of points. Now, normally that's not a big deal, right? Because a lot of that stuff does not, particularly at those smaller schools, they play the really fast offenses, and they put up all those points, and a lot of times that doesn't translate. This is a different league now. This league is first of all way more pass friendly than it used to be. Bailey Zapp, the accuracy, that's not a fluke. He was that in college. Obviously, he had he's had the game last week. They've got some decent weapons. We talked about Jacoby Myers, Devontae Parker, Nelson Aguilar. They've all had good games this year. So I think that he should be worried, because you look at what Mac Jones. Mac Jones didn't have such a great year last year. I think that I don't necessarily say that it's open, but I think that a guy like Bailey Zapp could come in and certainly challenge for the job. Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to do it, but I like him.
Right. And listen, this has been a team that has some history with a quarterback that was playing well and decent, and Drew Bledsoe, and a young kid came in and kind of started managing the show.
Who was it?
It was that little guy. What's his name? Tom Brady. Kind of came in there. I'm not calling dude Tom Brady, but I'm just asking. I'm asking because I'm asking. Anthony, give us every week we have to have our Bears corner. As a Bears fan that I am, and I know a team that you're very close to, and you get a lot of inside scoop on. Give us our Bears corner for this week. What can we look for in this game tomorrow night when the Bears take on the Commanders?
Yeah, for sure. The Thursday night game, only game on the day, so everyone's always looking forward to it, right? Like I was saying before the show, I don't know about hoping for a win. I'm just hoping to just not look like hot garbage. That personally, that's all I'm going for. And so, Fields over the first 3 games averaged a QBR of around 50. Over the last 2 games, he's been over 97. So he's starting to get it figured out. Oddly enough, he credits yoga breathing on the sidelines in between drives for that success. And hey, he's looking a little bit more calm. He doesn't look like his head is swimming every second of every play. Over the last couple of weeks, he's looking a little bit more comfortable in the pocket. Not 100%, but it's started. We can see the improvement, right? And so I think that's something to keep an eye on. And we'll see if he can continue that success. The Washington Manders are only giving up about 4.2 yards per carry. So Monty, the Bears need to lean on the run game. I think that Monty could still get a decent workload in this game. Khalil Herbert will probably get a hefty workload as well. It was encouraging to see Monty get 4 catches out of the backfield last week for 62 yards. That was nice. If we could keep that a thing, that'd be fantastic. I want him to have at least 4 catches every week. He is that type of back, and the fact that the Bears have never really used him that way has always been kind of weird. But with Khalil Herbert good between the tackles, maybe they'll start. And so, Washington's been giving up 7.2 yards per attempt this season, so they are susceptible to the pass. Fields has been looking a little bit better. I just don't want to bank on any of it yet. I just really don't.
Yeah.
But there are some deep balls to be had here. They've given up a lot. Washington defense has given up a lot over the top, and so definitely look for Mooney to have at least a pair of deep shots. We'll see what happens. He had a spectacular catch last week. He's going to have to make something similar this week if he wants to get some production. But the opportunities are going to be there. And then Wentz is, been doing pretty good on that side of the ball relative to Wentz, I guess. At least what we saw last year, because that was a hot mess over in Indianapolis. But, the Bears are giving up a solid 6.9 yards per attempt. Jalen Johnson coming back. So the pass game, that could be okay. The pass game has been kind of where the Bears are moderate on their defense. It's in the run defense that's been really the glaring weakness on this team. So I do expect to see a healthy mix of Brian Robinson, who's now back from the bullet wound in his butt, and Antonio Gibson with some, J.D. McKissick sprinkled in there. It's probably going to be a run game for Washington, so we'll just see how the defense can. This game is going to be all about the Bears defense. This game will be won or lost on the Bears defense. Absolutely.
Yeah, we have trouble with the run, and I anticipate us continuing. My biggest thing that I'm trying to see with the Bears each and every week is a change in culture. I do like the way they fight for 4 quarters. They've pressed everybody. They've been in every game, probably with the exception of Green Bay, and even that game came down to the play that we all think that Field scored on, and if he scores on that, that's a 1-possession game in the 4th quarter. So I like that Eberflus has the team playing hard. Hopefully he can sustain that through the rest of the season. And of course, we want to see the increased just play and understanding and the slowing down of the game for Justin Fields. So I agree with you on that. Before we go to our last word, I want to just check in with Nick Perrone. Nick, thank you for joining the show. He's asking, should I try to trade Russell Wilson and DeAndre Hopkins for a better QB? He already has Goff as his other quarterback.
I mean,
It's a 2 QB league, sure.
Yeah, and I think everybody's on the table. It just depends on who you can get. Yeah, so I'm always looking to make deals. Always, always, always. Nobody is ever off limits, for me. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you can better your team, by getting rid of, by moving Hopkins and moving, Russell. I mean, who knows how long that injury is gonna linger around. I mean, doesn't look like he's gonna take any time off. I'm not sure when their bye week is, but I mean, definitely kick the tires on it. I mean, because all they can do is just say no. Just send trades out. Try to get Mahomes if you can. Try to, all they're gonna do is hit reject. I mean, absolutely. Try to upgrade your team.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it's a 2 QB league, sure. If it's a single QB league, honestly, I'd probably just lean on Goff and stream the position when you need to. I'd probably try to trade Wilson and Hopkins for a better wide receiver. Hopkins is going to be coming off his suspension soon. I think he's got like 1 more week, right? And so he might have some name value to somebody. If you want to try to swing for like a top 15 wide receiver, you might be able to do that. Yeah, absolutely. Like Rob said, if you're not trading, you're not trying.
No, well, awesome. Wait, hold on. We got one more question. Could you put that question up? Quinn Lenardi asks, he says, I'm 1-4. I got screwed with Javonte. Yes. Dak. Yes. Schultz. Yes. JT. I'm not sure who JT is. And Penny, Jonathan Taylor. Which trade is better? Trade JT and Waddle to receive Leonard and Jamar, or JT and Waddle for J-Rob, Debo, Burrow, and Etienne? Did you guys get that?
Who is Jamar? Chase? Jamar Chase?
Jamar Chase.
And Leonard Fournette?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So trade JT
and Waddle to receive Leonard and Jamar, Leonard Fournette and Jamar Chase, or JT and Waddle for J-Rob, Debo, Burrow, and Etienne.
I would do the last one in a heartbeat. Yeah, I would do the last one. I won't. I mean, Debo. I don't. If that's on the table, I'm taking that. And I just think that Burrow's gonna figure it out at some point. I don't foresee him, somehow staying with this 220, 250 yards. I think those big games are coming. It's how their roster is constructed. Higgins, those guys all run vertical down the field. Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, they target him a lot out of the backfield. He gets a lot of catches, which obviously is going to give Burrow some production. So I mean, that I would do. The last one is the one I would do.
Yeah, I kind of like both. I kind of like both here, and so I think it's going to come down to bench space and what your roster construction is kind of looking like. And so, I hate giving up Jonathan Taylor. That just sucks. But if Leonard Fournette has been great, and if you can squeeze Rachaad White off the waiver wire onto your team, I'd probably go that route because Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle both should be hopefully stepping up throughout the rest of the season. And so which one do you want to bet on, Jalen Waddle or Jamar Chase? Well, I'm going to go with Chase, right? And so with the other one, I do like it a lot. I really like the the James Robinson and ETN stack, because what you can do is basically if you expect Jacksonville to be behind, which you should in most games, you're going to play ETN. If you expect them to run a lot, I would play James Robinson. So that's really nice. You just lock down that position there. Debo and Burrow, you need the quarterback help too. So I kind of get it. Both are good. It's just going to depend on how much flexibility do you have.
No, awesome. Rob, do you have a closing argument for us this Wednesday night?
Just a real short one. It's one that we posted on our statlinesmatter Instagram page, and it was some advice I had for the league. And if you wanted, it was basically had a couple of things, but one of the things that I wanted the league to do was get rid of the roughing the passer call. And this weekend we saw another case where a team, they got robbed of a potential comeback in the Atlanta Falcons and Tom Brady. And I also said that they need to get rid of the taunting rule. I think the roughing the passer call is just such a judgment call. And again, if football is inherently rough and the quarterback is playing football, then how can he be roughed if he's playing a sport that is inherently rough? If you're supposed to get, unless it's like, was it Charles Martin? Unless it's like Charles Martin slamming Jim McMahon to the ground, the gentleman for the Green Bay Packers, unless it's something like that.
He was not any type of gentleman. He's a Green Bay Packer, which makes him a thug.
I think he passed away, as a matter of fact. But anyway, that would be my.
Did he really?
Yeah, I think Charles Martin's gone. Yeah, I think he gone on to be with the Lord.
Man, I didn't know that.
But anyway, yeah,
that's what you get for doing that to Jim McMahon.
But anyway, they need to get rid of the call, man. These guys, hey, you tell your O-line to block better. Your O-line need to block better, but stop with the roughing the passer. Unless it's egregious or something, let that go. It's a judgment call, and I think they need to take that out of it. He got tackled. He got tackled. He got tackled hard. He got tackled hard. No hitting them low, though. I think they need to be upright. We don't want guys out here tearing up knees and things of that nature. But all the calls that we've seen in
the past, concussions are okay.
I mean, look. Somehow Joe Montana made it through. Somehow John Elway made it through. Somehow, Brett, all these guys.
Have you seen those guys walk?
But that's football. That's football.
Look, I mean, I understand. I'm okay with. I think, to your point, and I know you're being facetious to some degree, but I just think they got to get the call right. Like we saw a couple calls this week, in Atlanta Tampa Bay game, and then you saw another one in the Kansas City game. I saw somebody tweet, and it was very poignant. It's like, I've never seen anybody get a roughing the quarterback call with the ball in their hand. You know what I mean? Like how do you even do that? So I think I would just say get the call right and hold the refs accountable when they get the calls wrong. I think we should do that.
Fair enough.
Well, listen, man, great show. I'm happy that we made it through. Like always, I tip my cap to both of you guys because you deliver such good information, so well prepared, helping me and the rest of these guys construct and win in their fantasy league. Both you guys are winning players, championship players in multiple leagues. You know your stuff, and I thank both you guys for coming on and doing this live show. We thank everybody who came on today. We got, you got the question where we went through your whole roster, so you have to come back, Gitz. So everybody who's in, everybody who joined us, we appreciate it. Definitely on our YouTube channel, go in, like, subscribe, get the notifications so you know exactly what time we go on, and you can catch the normal show every week on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, Stat Lines Matter, where you can find these shows and our normal podcast. And any place that you can find your podcast, that's where you should go. And our YouTube channel, of course. So I thank you guys for coming out. On behalf of my partner Rob Hunter and my partner Anthony Lukasik, coming from Chicago, this is Stat Lines Matter, and we're out.
Peace. Thank you, guys.
All right.